Well, part narrate and part sort of I can now talk through the event of last weekend. Um, the post Friday the 27th of January, she was never there. But first, I think I need to give a little bit of background to this, especially for those who haven't read the blog. Just recently, I've been looking to explain which part of the misdirection um, had me fooled and were taking me down slightly the wrong path. Uh, Facts of anything I think are really easy sort of to disprove or otherwise. You only have to go back to the original source and ask yourself, is this source credible? And in most cases, with all the rubbish that's being put out, the answer is very quickly no. And once you learn and understand that it comes from um, hired and paid for deceivers, then then actually you can turn it around on them and get some very valuable information. But that said, it was the inquest where my sort of joined up thinking didn't hold together. And then prior to that, going back to the staged events, Saturday 18th and 19th of February, well, of course, everyone that was present there, either those filmed by, set up and filmed by Curtis Media, all actors, as well as the hand-picked journalists to attend that special event. Um, so it all just fake. There's a question as to when the police unit, a little after 2 o'clock, and I'm talking about the sort of CSI official CSI police van sort of turned up. Would they be aware it was all fake? Possibly, possibly not, because by that point, the infamous blue van that was fast making an exit had, in my opinion, the vehicle that delivered a corpse to the forensic tent. So if you've got a unit that's now turning up and all they have is some actors standing around, and then a very real body in a tent. But none of that matters really. Going back to the filmed footage of Curtis right there with Jason Rothwell, Maurice Sanderson, the few actors, you're not gonna. I mean, it's insane to even be thinking, well, is there a straight shooter here? Someone who's not aware what's going on. Well, of course not. It's all just theatre. Tradition takes you back to the inquest and oh, literally sitting in a film studio. Um, Everyone was playing the role, but I was looking for a straight shooter, and I wrote about this at the time, which came to realise, so obviously more recently, was was ridiculous. So in the case of Helen O'Neill, as best example of this, well, she's one of the gang, one of those all playing a role. So the mistake, the having been successfully duped, that here was someone providing incredible information to the best of her ability, was nothing of the sort. And that changed everything. And it wasn't just those who were performing as witnesses and such like, but actually those in the very small audience, also many of whom part of the longer running production. So, having understood this, then Going back now to the very first morning, it all becomes so clear just how simple it was when you look at it through the lens of it all being one cast of stage actors. Um, no difference, of course, is there's no mainstream media live broadcast. There's no one to perform to. So it's really just a case of certain individuals moving around at the right time, and that's it. Perhaps some of you, up to this point, have had implicit trust in one or other of the persons involved on that morning. Well, the question you have to ask yourselves is, well, what is that based on? Um, and when you sort of take that away and sort of put your hand up and go, gosh, being fooled, they're playing a role, then it's all very simple indeed. You have just another group of actors who had carried out a set piece that had been a long time in the planning. The enduring wall of silence from the entire community starts to make a lot more sense. The theatre right back around the time, so during early February, it's a mystery, vanish into thin air, none of it makes sense, and all the other sort of one-liners. Well, it it makes perfect sense, other than the question as to what the hell is wrong with these people. But that is one to be left for another day. Turning to the big picture, in essence, what we have is a very well planned and executed establishment piece of theatre where the mainstream, so all the mainstream media and associated personalities that you'll see who build up their image and their status, all of them continue to champion the official establishment line of whoops, slipped into the river, accidental drowning. Because, of course, the one thing they all have in common is they have to play by certain rules. They can't simply slander and be libelous against people, making accusations of murder or anything else like that, because of course they would be sued, and so they have to continue to work within their that space. But the other branch of the establishment, who all ultimately work for the same group of people when you sort of go up the pyramid, they don't have any rules. Well, some may, but only those that have an identity based in the UK, shilling for the establishment in a way that supports those that are totally anonymous. Those who are totally anonymous with fake personas who can put out what they want. You might think, well, surely no, they can't, because they their identity could be traced and identified by the authorities. But no, it's the authorities. They are protected by the relevant agencies and protected by the authorities, such that will never happen. And then there's of course those that in other based out of other countries with their backgrounds erased, so their sort of history and who they really are hidden from public view. And likewise, they can make any accusations they want about anyone at any time. So, from an establishment's perspective, they've got and they can create and they can build and they can change direction and steer and try to own and control the narrative in such a way that the truth is never discovered. It should be abundantly clear by now that the Peter Fraudling grift, he's a through and through mainstream establishment player whose only